of the Adi Lakshmi painting. It's one of the 8 forms of Lakshmi avatars, Lakshmi goddesses that are celebrated for all the positive propensities of life, and we are working on Adi Lakshmi. Adi Lakshmi, the word Adi refers to first. So it's the source of all the Lakshmi forms, the first form of Lakshmi that is giving us all the positive propensities. And we are doing this painting with a twist, wherein we are taking a picture of a little girl to work with and also capturing diversity. So there is girl child empowerment and diversity. There's a lot of things going on in this picture, and we are working on the layer 4 right now. We are going to start with the layer 4, isn't it? Before we get started, could we just go over what we have done so far in this picture? So we started with the wash on the canvas, which was covered in the basic session, and after the wash what we started with was really not on the canvas. We started with the planning on a paper, and then execution on the canvas. Once the execution was kind of done, all those grid lines were sitting there really cluttered. We had to remove the clutter a little bit and give it a fine tuning for the idea, and that had to be done with the help of color, which was the layer 2 blocking or filling. Once that was done, the layer 3 kick started. That's where things started crystallizing a little more into concrete idea, because that's when the idea of pushing a little bit of details on the face and adding also the depth in terms of black and white, what is dark and light. So we started all that, and that gave a kind of idea of where we are going. So this is exactly what we are going to do in the layer 4. Layer 4 is further enhancement into the dark versus light, and also giving that depth and nuance, really fine tuning all those structural details that we might have thought, okay, let's just try this here and stop with that. So we are going to push it even further, push the bar even further. So are you ready for that? Before we get started, what is most important here is that we always review what we have done in the previous session, and see if there is a possibility to change things. I must tell you something, that just after finishing this picture, I had a feeling that the background, the light color circle, wasn't so good. So I had to add a little bit more of titanium white to lighten it up, and I did that. Going over in the circular angle the way I explained in the previous session. It took me 10 minutes and I did it off camera, but it isn't anything new. So it's the same format that I have explained in the previous session. I just lightened it up a bit. And that I waited for this to dry, so everything is dry and I'm ready for the next layer right now. So that's exactly what we are going to do. In this layer, what we try to do is also more into detailing, like I mentioned, which means we'll have to try to see if we can push the bar in terms of adding the nuances even further and getting closer to what we have in the picture here. The picture ideally showed us the skin tone, and we have about, at least in my case I can tell, it's 80% there, not the right skin tone though. I can clearly see that. So that's exactly something that I want to fix, and I also want to work on her details as well as we move along. So this is something I'm going to do. For this purpose, what we try to do is not to take too much of colors. So I have a clean palette ready, and it's going to be the same type of colors, but I will take as less as possible and work with that. So that's exactly the plan. Okay. Right. So I'm going to have this face image fixed here, so I could get started with the detailing. The skin tone, like I said, it's 80% there, it's not the right skin tone. And also we need to remember one thing. What we are going to do is to handle the layer 4 as though we are going to paint over this, which means I still want the impressions of layer 3 to remain. So it's going to be a very light, a thin cover or coat to capture the essence of this new color or the color tonality that we are adding, at the same time keeping in view what is there, so we don't hide the previous layers. That was the simplest thing to say. Yes, we don't necessarily hide the previous layers. The next layer that is coming, it's going to be slightly transparent to show what is there behind as well. So it's all going to combine together and help. So that's also something that I have in mind. So it's not going to be really thick, applying everything from the first. Applying layer upon layer does not necessarily mean that you're covering things. You are using that, um, binding elements of one layer on top of the other and then the other and so on, to kind of build that storyline, to build that strength, to show more of the depth, in a right manner. So that's exactly what we are trying to do here. I think I am going to get started with the color tonality. Now we know the natural colors that we take usually. So it is a bit of vermilion, and this time I'm not going to go too much with vermilion because I think I used a pink shade in the previous tonality. So I'm not going to rely on this vermilion more. And this again depends upon what you did in the previous layer. Do you want to complement this? Do you want to add on to this in the same tonality or build another range? So this is something very important to check. So I seem to have used a good amount of vermilion, so I might not need that much. So I'm going to take it, keep it ready, but maybe a pinch of it, so something like that. So that a permanent yellow, maybe, yes, gonna have that. And of course our yellow ochre. So I'm going to mix them and show you what I'm doing as well in a short while. Yellow ochre, our very important friend. The titanium white here does help. We have used it all along. It's been a helpful friend, but also be aware. Titanium white tends to, what does it do? It does mellow down a lot of the real colors that we are using. So everything turns dull as well. So be very careful. Maybe it didn't matter much until the third layer, but it will now. Every single minute a bit of color that you're picking up will matter now for the detail. So let's just go with this and see what we come up with. I am taking a brush number 1 flat, and I have my colors here, and I'm going to mix them. So let's see what comes up. So I'm also keeping it close to her face here, so I can keep on adding to that. Okay, I'm going to take this and the yellow, mix it, little bit more of the yellow, mixing it, a tinge of vermilion, but not too much, mixing it. This is the darker version. Let's add titanium white carefully. See where we go with it. No, not the color at all. Needs vermilion. Little more. Okay. nearly there. Nearly there. Nearly there. So I'm adding white carefully in parts so that it doesn't distort my color totally, because you could speed up the process, but suddenly you'll be very disappointed because it's just created another color range altogether. So that is the color coming close to. It has a tinge of lighter tonalities and darker tonalities coming up in different places. I am aware of that, but this is nearly the base color. Maybe a bit of. So I've added a bit of vermilion again to get to somewhere and see if that is working, and I need to lighten it up even further. Needs a bit of titanium white to lighten up further. I'm getting close to the color, but it isn't there, so I just want to be so close to the color as possible in this layer. Layer 5 is also there. I usually do 5 layers minimum, and I usually go beyond also sometimes if needed, but my aim is to start getting into that zone of picking up the right tonalities already in layer 4. So you see that this color is almost there. It's really there, and I'm having a couple of tonalities. Do you see that? Very light and a lighter one, and of course when I need a little more of colors I will add them as I go along. But now I'm going to add a little more of this oil, linseed oil, dropping it like this. So I have a kind of transparency created, so it isn't totally hiding what we have done. It will complement what we have done. So I'm just going to go with this lighter tonality in the spaces. Yes, now I feel that it is really there, it's kind of there. So I'm going over carefully in the sections where I see that the color is slightly on the lighter side. The nostrils, under her eye, her cheeks, the sides of her temple, all these spaces, yeah. So going for that. A slight bit on her upper lip. Maybe, and the cheeks as well. And this time also I need to fix her cheeks. I remember, doing yes, fine. So I remember doing the cheeks slightly bulky in the previous attempt to correct. So I'm also thinking of that, to fix that along. And then also, so corrections will always be a part of it, part of our process. Doesn't matter which layer we are working, until we are convinced that we have done justice to the picture and to the character and such. So it's always a color looks good enough. So I am going to now take the slightly darker tonality. It's not slightly dark, it was just, before I reached this color, I had this, almost slightly darker tonality ready. And I'm going to add also oil to that to have it transparent. So whatever you see, it's not that it's totally light. It's transparent enough to show what is behind, in this case. So it is going to blend, and I keep on blending as well as I go when I work on the further sides. So I'm doing this on the temple. If you see, I have really created that texture now. Building on the same in the around the eye. Around the eye. Coming around the eye. Eyebrows. Under the eye. The sides. So it's a tiny bit of coloring, but it is looking different. Now let's work on the ear as well. Yes, looks okay. With respect to the tonalities, we have to work on further details. So we have left it wet so we can work on further details on this. We are going to take some color tonalities to boldly play around with the eye, the hair, and other structures. Okay, for the eye, I see that it is on the what do you call a browny gray structure. It's really a beautiful color tonality. So I'm seeing a bit of burnt umber. Let me have that ready. And I want to have also ivory black ready. Alright, so I want to have this ready, and I want to test this first in the hair before I go on to play around with it in the other spaces. So I want to use this, and this needs okay, so this needs a bit of lightening up. When this brown needs a bit of lightening up, then I'll go for the yellow ochre to blend it here and lighten it up a little bit to give the natural hair color wherever needed. Okay, this is looking good. This color is close to the tonality that I'm looking for, and there's also some pink shades and traces that will come up in this layer. We can do it later, but let's see how far we can go ahead with the deeper ones. So let's start with this color first, and let me go over this here. So that's how I'm filling in first, but we will not keep to filling it up all the time. We'll work on details, isn't it? So I'm filling in this color, but the moment I have filled in, I'm going to take a tinge of all this. I'm working on a round brush zero. The tip of the hair where it is darker, so I'm trying to give that shade already here, and I blend it with that so it doesn't turn and look exactly totally black. I wanted to have that variation, but it shouldn't be totally black as well, so I play along with it and create that impression. Okay, I guess it is working fine, and now I will start thinking of including doing a bit more of the hairlines and strands here. So I play around with these two colors now. So let's go ahead, do this. I'm doing the brown with the burnt umber with yellow ochre, and this time working on the sides of her face where the hair strands are. And now I will also start pulling in some thin hair strands the moment I am done with the filling. So I'm doing this, and I quickly shift to the black as well to start giving that the darker spaces. So this is definitely the enhanced version of what we did in the previous layer. So more of dark versus light and detailing. So we are looking at every single angle where the dark is visible, and possibly, and also I have added hair here which wasn't there. So again, that's something I wanted to have. I wanted to have a little more fluffy kind of hair structure here, so I added it. So I'm just thinking, imagining those sections close to her neckline to have a slightly darker texture. So I'm adding that black to ivory black to this, and look at how it's coming up already. Yeah, so this is giving us a little bit of confidence in terms of how the color is going to show up. Yeah, so this is time for us to work on further details. And can we do that now? How do we do that? So we can continue. This is a zero brush. We can continue on a micro brush also if you want to go over and create some more lengths and strands, yeah, which we hadn't done before. So I'm going to do that here to create some more strands, some more hair textures. We'll add some more as well, fine tuning as well when we come to the next layer. So it's not that we stop here with this, but we do a good amount of strands and hair textures here. So look at how bright that is coming up. So this color is giving me the kind of confidence that this is good enough for us to experiment with the details as well on her face. So let's go ahead with that. I'm going to take this color, the ivory black mixed with burnt umber, to in a zero brush, very very small one, to go ahead and do her eyes. So I'm just doing the iris. And yes, so the moment I'm done with the iris, I'm going to move on to the eyelash area. Now I want to give that kind of thickness that it deserves. So I add the color slightly over on this side. Her eyelashes are strongly visible, where we could start drawing her eyelashes also in this attempt, or leave it for the last layer. So that's also another thing. I'm just building the eyelash area, giving that impression. So not really doing the eyelashes, but kind of suggesting the existence of her eyelashes there. So that's coming out well. And you see that the features are getting sharper now. eyelid line. Yep. So let's see how that goes. That's coming out nicely. The eyelid line is nice, and now we take this hair color to work on the eyebrows, and this time I'm not going to draw lines because we already have them. So these are hair textures, thin hair textures, so I want to go ahead with that to create that hair texture lightly. And once it dries, the next layer, we will also lighten it with the skin color so that it doesn't look totally sharp also. Looks fair. I need a bit of this color to go under the eye, but not too much. So I'm just giving that under eye puffy shape and blending it with the skin tone that we have just done. Cool, yes. So that works here. So that is done. Let's come down to her cheek area and the hair texture here, because that is something that we have to adjust. At least in my case, I did mention that I could have adjusted the face structure a little bit here. So I'm gonna work on that. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that's how she looks, and there is hair texture, hair falling in from this side as well. So I've done that, and that's how she looks right now. What we are missing is the baby hair. Let's begin that. Throw some small little strands of hairline coming out of this forehead, so you get the idea that it isn't, it isn't all the time. It's only the long hair strand, so you have some texture of baby hair as well. And this color can also be a little bit used on the side here to kind of darken this. And I'm using the skin color brush to go ahead and do this. Yes. So where else can we use this darker tonality from what we created, that is burnt umber and black? There's also a good section that is underneath her cheek. So I'm going to draw that now, and then I will, those lines are visible from our previous layer, so I'm going to draw that now, and then I will use this to blend with the skin tonality using the brush number 1 flat and pushing the color along. Sections. Okay, there you go. So you see that she is now beginning to look a little more into the realistic way. We need few more strands going around her ear, and this also needs a bit of color mixture. What is that? There is some kind of, pinky tonality to her, but I'm not going to take too much of it. Vermilion only on the tip. I'm going to play around with that in some sections only, like her cheek, around her ear. such. So let's play with that. So if you see, I have just made dot spots there. Using the brush, let's play this. Wow, yeah. Is this playing out well? Let me know how it is coming up for you. So we aren't mixing colors and having them ready. We are blending and creating tonalities on the go, on the canvas itself, using the canvas itself as a palette. How beautiful that is. Yes, let's do this. I'm using a little more of the skin color to blend. So it doesn't look totally off there. I think it looks good here. It looks fine here. The color tonalities are now speaking well. Any excess you carefully remove, and also remember that you can use an earbud if you have gone wrong somewhere and such. So that's also possible to remove things. But really play with this. Okay, so we are focusing only on the face, but but it is a lot that we are doing, and I'm going to play around a little more, adding titanium white directly on the face in some of the sections where I want it to be even more brighter. But I'm not adding too much. I'm just pinching my brush into the white very carefully and using it, lightening it up in some of the sections to highlight. Yeah, so these are all delicate moves that you make with your brush. Yeah, so here you go. Right now the focus could shift on the lip area and also on her cheek angles. So I'm going to work on the cheek angle with the zero brush, taking this burnt umber, and I'm just going to make burnt umber. It has a bit of black, but I haven't really taken too much of ivory black. It's mostly burnt umber. So I'm just going to give that angle one more line, and also the nose, nostrils. I'm using the tip of the brush to play around with the nostrils here. So it's all minute details. And once the color is there, I'm just going to use my brush number 1 flat to blend it along the line that I want. Yeah. Yes. So we've done that here. She's there. She's nearly there. Yeah. Okay. So right now, let's work on some more details on the lips. What is that? The color has to be what can we use in terms of the color? So it's got to be this skin color itself. See, our lip is also a part of our skin, so we can use the skin color, and we can play around adding a little bit more of vermilion and see where it goes. Let's play around with that. I'm going to take mix the color to see how things are, and then I will move to another brush while I apply. So I'm just going to add vermilion to the skin color here and see if I get the lip color. That's possible. It looks like it is possible. Yes, it's there. And you can also add crimson to this if you want. Let me also experiment with the crimson. Let's see. Yeah, but not too much. I think I will rely on only a minute bit of it to try. So I'm taking a tiny bit of crimson to try here. Yes, so the crimson and vermilion put together is giving me, that is the color that I wanted. So I have the color now. So now I need a smaller brush to focus and get it done. Let's see if I have, okay, there is the zero brush that I could use, isn't it? So I'm going to wipe off my zero brush. It's got darker color, so I'm just wiping it off. And I'm going to take this lip color that I've created here, right here, to go over the lip area. Let's do that. And it could be transparent, doesn't matter, because there is another darker tonality there that's going to complement, yeah. So I have the lip filled up, and I know now what I should play around with. That should be some kind of dark and light again. It's a very tiny area, but how do we play with the dark and light? We could use, one thing we could do is that do not go for the direct crimson. It will turn everything pink and funny easily. So I would definitely go for mixing it with the burnt umber. So this is the color that I am thinking of. So it is still on the crimson side, but it has the natural tonality of burnt umber also dominating, so it isn't totally pinky. So let's go with that and try to place the shades of the lip that is darker. Yes, that is looking cool, and this shade is also going to help here for me to make that tonality of the ear. Though I haven't shown in here, the ear is not visible so much, but I still want to use this color there, and I think this color is also going to help in building that angle here. Around the cheek. Yeah, so I'm going to use the color boldly in some places. I see that it could be used close to the eyes. So I'm filling them in boldly, yeah? Filling them in boldly, and I will blend them in also under the lip. So I've done this, and now I can go back to using the skin tonality to blend it in those places so it doesn't look totally odd at all. That's a nice tonality that is coming up here. Yes, amazing. So we need a bit more of the lighter tonality to balance out here, and then we are there with just below the eyebrows. So I'm also adding a tiny bit of the skin color again, so that it blends with it, it doesn't look totally odd, and it goes along with this coloring here. So that is done. Looks fine, she looks fine. And the cheek is now resonating what exactly we were looking for. Let's blend this color also around her chin so it doesn't look totally dark, but it gives the depth of the neckline. Yeah, so we have done that. Yes, got it. Cool. I think the coloring is going well. With the face, I'm going to play around with the hair coloring again, because I just wanted one more strand, a couple of strands to go across the ear like this, and give that natural look. Yes. Her head needs to have a little more of the small little strands here and here. So also the darker tonalities with ivory black. So what I have been using is this brush 0 round long to go ahead with that. Baby hair around her temple. I'm just making sure that they are still there. They aren't gone, totally, because of what we have done. So I think we have pretty much managed to do that. And I'm just going to work on the lip angle one more time. Yes, we need the depth to show up now one more time. So I'm just taking the 0 brush to go over the lip angle ever so lightly here, and building that smile that she has. It's a beautiful smile that she has. Let's do that. She's got a smile. The smile has come out. Let's give that tiny tinge of lightness there. I'm adding titanium white on the underlip, just to show the shine there. Not too much. With this 0 brush, if we do that, goes and blends with the color that we have created. Her lip looks like now. Yeah. I'm going back to the lip color, giving that underline. So this is a lot of detailing at the same time, building the dark versus light tonality. Yeah, look how her face is appearing versus what we have done. We had done in the previous layer, so there is a lot of depth that we could create now with nuances. So that's what we have done. So the face looks amazing now. Are we done with this? Let's look at what we have done. So we could work on the same approach and build the hands also in the same way. We could try that because we have the colors ready. We could play with that as well. So right now I'm going to shift from this picture to her image of the Lakshmi, Adi Lakshmi, so we can see those fingers and hands. So we are going to do all these minute details, and one thing is that because we have created a wide variety of range of colors here already for the skin tone, so we have enough to play around with. Yes. So to darken up, we have the real dark tonalities, we have really light tonalities, there is flesh tonality, so there's a ton that is sitting here. Plus, when we blend them in, we also create further tonalities and add highlights and such. So we also do that. So let's play one by one at a time. Yeah. So I'm going to work on the lighter skin tonality on the hands and also on the on the fingers. So I'm going to get started with the lighter spacing on the hands, so I can see clearly where things are. It really helped because I did a bit of work in the previous layer, so I'm just going to work on those sections where it is lighter using this lighter skin tonality, filling that in. Yes, so I have filled it in the hands and also in the arms. So right now, if the focus shifts to her yes, so the focus shifts to her hands and fingers now, isn't it? So we are looking at the way it is structured, and we have done quite a bit in the previous layer. We have to make sure that it is aligned perfectly. At the same time, we need to keep in mind that it is aligned to her face also. She is, it is her and not the body of the woman. Yeah. So that is the balance that we are going to create. Going back to the zero brush, I am going to start first drawing these finger lines and everything using, I think I found this beautiful color range that we do it for the lip. It's very helpful. What did we do? I think I took crimson and a bit of burnt umber. Did the magic because it was really matching to that baby kind of, or a little girl kind of skin tonality. At the same time, the earthy color coming out from the burnt umber. So let's stick on to that and let me draw those contours nicely now, very lightly. And this time when I draw fingers, what you will see is that I will also make sure that every fold of the finger, so when I did the finger last time, I made that it is like a tube. I did one up and one down like this. Maybe I bent it slightly. But this time what I will do is that, yes, so there will be one slight curve, another curve coming down to the hand. So this three curves, they could be tiny, but if you are showing that in the finger, let's see the finger that is holding the flower is holding like this, isn't it? So we will do that bend. And also in these three fingers that are folded, you see that there is this fold, there is this angle created. So be careful with that. How do we create that angle? One simple thing that we can focus on is that, this is one tube. Right now we go by the tube angle. Okay, this is one tube and the bent tube is like this. So this is a smaller tube because you cannot see much of it. Yeah, so likewise, so we try to give that angle slowly and steadily. Yeah, so I'm also working on the thumb. We are not yet doing the nails. Yeah, so not yet on the nails. We are just focusing on the right angle of the fingers. Sorry, yeah. So there is this bend and there is this shoulder bend. So these are all tiny nuances, but we work on that. And we are going to shade that also right away, so just hang on. If you want to watch first and do it, that's also fine. So I have now done this hand, and I've also done the contour of that arm with this color tonality. And now I'm going to take the lighter skin tone with the help of the zero brush to blend in and give light in the sections where there is light visible. Darken it a bit more with the lip color or this pink color that we created, the darker, slightly darker skin tonality that we created in those sections that are folded here. They aren't totally visible, so I'm just going to play it around like that. So let's see how things are. And those contours that I drew, I'm also blending them in totally. So it's still there, but it isn't thoroughly visible. So it's still there, you'll see the contours, but it gets blended together with the colors here. I need a bit of darker tonality here around that area where the jewelry is going to come. Yes. So now I go back to using the zero brush to blend in this color in those sections where her arm is having the darker tonality shade. Why is that having a shade? Why is there a shade? It is coming from the shadow. Where is the shadow coming from? Just keep that idea going all along, because that's very important. So we are able to tell the story of where the shadow is coming from. The shadow is usually on the sides because we are throwing light from the front. Blending a little bit more. The angle of the hand needs to be fixed a bit, so I'm just adjusting it also while I blend. And this hand seems to have evolved better. It is in alignment, so I'm happy with this. I'm going to move on to the next hand. Just blend it in. It will help when we do the jewelry. I guess right now it is fine to move on to the next hand. We have done the lighter tonality already, so all we need to work on is the contours with these colors. Zero brush. Let's do the thumb. Remember the angles or the folds. this hand is just visible to us because it's from the front, the way it is built. So meaning you will have to show the what do we call, these lines. I don't remember the name of it now, but so let's do that very, very tiny bit of lining. And also remember, between two fingers there is always this small little triangle. It's so tiny, but there is one triangle there. So try to, maybe you might not have the space to show a triangle, but if you leave a spot there, it will help you, in the process. So once that is done, once the contours are also done, it is time to move on to the other tonality. So I'm going to take a bit more of this slightly darker color. To plunge in a little bit here on the sides, on the sections where we haven't touched. And then I'll start blending it in as well, So I'm taking this color to blend in. This kind of detail, the more you are able to achieve this detail, easier it will be to work on other layers, because the next layer will be even more of the details. But if the details are nearly done, nicely, then have less areas to focus on. The more you are done with this detail here, the less you will have to really rethink. So you're only mostly rethinking on the sections where, let's say, for example, there was a mistake that you haven't noticed and you're fixing and such. Those things will take up your time in your upcoming layers. Otherwise, your upcoming layers are going to be fairly easy once you're done with the layer 4. So do keep that in mind. I'm just giving it the shadows, and I'm working on the contour, blending it in ever so lightly so it doesn't look like it's added. So there is this contour lining, but it isn't necessarily yes. These two hands seem to have come up right, and I'm just checking how it looks in versus what we have here. There is a bit of lightness that we could bring in some sections. I'm going to add a bit of titanium white in some of the sections to kind of throw in light, blend it in, not too much, just blend it in here. Okay, I guess she looks fine with her both the hands here. Let's move on to the other two hands. I'm just pushing this slightly towards you. Okay, so let's work on the other two hands and then we can make a stop. This is definitely one of those sessions where there's a lot of detailing going on, and it could be pressurizing. If you want to take a break or do it in steps, it is fine, but try to do it within the day. before your oil gets totally dried up, because you would have mixed the right tonalities and you've learned the blending and such. So you want to make use of it. So try to do this in one sitting if possible. Because the rest of the sections we can also take like 20 minutes, 10 minutes to do. Doesn't matter that you need to follow the exact regime that I have set up, but when it comes to the face, body, skin color, texture, mostly I have noticed that when we do it in 2 or 3 sprints, the color dries and we mix up another color range altogether, and then we are reworking and reworking. So this is something that puts you off all the time. So be careful with that. This hand looks slightly bigger. I'm just going to adjust it, and then when we draw the jewelry, we will manage fine. I've drawn the contours of the finger and also the arm as such. Let me do the same for the other hand as well. So we're done with the contouring. This arm also needs a little bit of angle fixing. I feel that it has helped that we did a lot of corrections in the previous session, so there is number of corrections that I'm doing is less, but there are corrections though. So I don't know about you, how far you're going with the corrections as well. So if you have a lot to work on, take it slow and steady. Pause button is there. Pause this video onto where you want it to stop and do it. So if you really want to look at the difference of what I have done with the contours here, I have just drawn the contours here, done nothing in terms of blending, versus here you see that there is a bit of blending that's happened. So it is still, the contours are visible, but it's not the way it is here. So that's the difference that we are trying to make when we blend things out. Yes. So should we start blending? So I'm just going to take the lighter tonality and pick it up and use it in those sections where the finger could be visible. Here, this hand will have a little more of visibility, again like this hand. So keep that in mind when the shading goes. And then let's use this brush number 1 flat to blend things up again. For me, I'm always a little bit nervous with the layer 4 things get serious, but at the same time I find this also exciting because yeah, it's also where it gets really serious and you get to see a little more of the picture that you're going to arrive into, yeah. So that kind of gives you that feel, okay, we are reaching there, reaching there. And I have mentioned though in other videos that I do 5 layers as a standard, but not necessary that we should stop with the 5 layers or do only 5 layers and such. So I have also chosen to do more than 5 layers in some places where it felt like there's a need. And I've also done only 3 layers sometimes, in some places where yeah, I felt okay, fine, it doesn't have to be done that way. So it's really up to you. And by these layers, the way I am giving the tutorial is also to break down the depth and nuance into various layer sections to make it easier for you to grasp. So what I'm doing is that those lines in the finger, tiny little ones, to show. Okay, so here we go with the slight bit of darkness and the hand. I think she's beginning to look ensemble, yeah? It looks fine. She needs a bit of brightening up in one of those sections, which I will add with a very tiny bit of titanium white. Do not take too much of it. You might be disappointed because you've worked really hard in building the colors. You don't want it to be spoiled completely. Yes. And it's her. As well. I'm just checking one more thing. I wanted the skin color to go slightly up here. Yes. And this angle also to be adjusted here slightly. Fits fine. Fits fine. To me, I think it fits fine, and that's how she's looking. And let's take another deep look at sections that would be improvised or what we have done here. I haven't done much on her earrings or such because we're not going to work on the jewelry though, but I've also given a bit of angle there now. And around her neck, the darker tonality needs to grow around the place where the neckline of her shirt or blouse is going to be. So I'm just fixing that before we make a stop. And when I fix that, it doesn't mean I leave it out like that. So I'm just also blending the skin color there. Adding a bit more of the skin color there. Blending it in. Yes. Shade is ready now. Right. I guess I am ready to make a stop with this session. It's been a very interesting session, and I guess you would have learned a lot with this to play around with the colors and also starting to build that reality in. Let's meet up in the next session where we will do the details again of the costume that she's wearing, the jewelry and such, and then also the lotus flower and lot. So there's a lot to work on, but we are really getting there, and she's beginning to show up as this pretty little goddess. So I hope you have liked this and you have learned a lot from this. That's how she looks right now. Yes, this is an addendum to the class 6 of Adi Lakshmi painting. I have to apologize that when I was recording this, I didn't notice that the image clarity was slightly blurry for you in one of the cameras, and the quality did go down, so I'm so sorry for that. So just to compensate for what you might have missed, I'm just making this video again to check the quality standards one more time, and also to share with you what I had done in a summary format. So I think the camera functioned well when I was showing this palette and the colors that I mixed. It was good, but well, the application wasn't showing very fine. What exactly I did was to take the lightest of the tonalities and start applying it in the sections where the light is. And even within the lightest tonalities, I created 2 variations. And if you have looked at the way I have functioned on this, the base colors yellow ochre, yellow and crimson have been used mostly. Vermilion has been used a little bit, and crimson has been used along with burnt umber, where I wanted to create a darker complexion. So that's what I had done, and I did take a bit of ivory black also, and titanium white. So there's been a variation of colors that I had used. With these colors, whatever I tried to do was to start from the light and deepen in those light and dark areas. And this time I was trying to get close to what the real image of this girl is in the picture, in the reference picture. So I was trying to get there, and what I haven't done yet is that there are lighter shades, like using fine lines and such. That will be a part of layer 5, so you will also go through this in layer 5. So I did that for the face and the neck, and I did the eyes and eyebrows and such. So whatever details I could do, I did. And once I was done with that, I moved on to working on the hands. All 4 hands, whatever I did was to first use the burnt umber and crimson, mixed with crimson, the darker tonality, to first do the contours, and then the lighter color shades to add up in the shading area and such, and blending them slightly, ever so lightly. So that's what I did in the sessions. I think the explanation audio clarity was there with the video, but you couldn't see what I exactly have done. So this is how it looks. Unfortunately, we cannot redo what I've done, but the thing is that when we come to layer 5, we will enhance this further. So that's exactly how we also work on another layer. So we will revisit some more nuances with the clarity, hopefully. So apologies, and I hope we are able to get through with this. This particular session is also important. So in case you're feeling the need to talk to me or show what you have done. Also remember that you can write to me at support at the GLAC studio, the .dk. The email address will also be flashed for you to contact us. So write to me. So in case you have any queries, we are able to tackle that directly. And also you're welcome to call me in for a one-to-one session if you want really specific details on how to improve your work of art. Thank you very much. Bye bye.